On June 27th, 2019 at 12:30 in the morning, I decided to write some notes down for some video ideas when I woke up in the middle of the night. One of those ideas read as follows: make a video on how new games coming out are doing horrible due to societal pressures. Now this was mainly towards Call of Duty World War II, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, games like that, where they were implementing features that were not historically accurate, or they were just changing history altogether and also not including events at all. And those societal pressures were for more diversity in games because of they wanted to see women in a World War II fighting sequence, but then they claimed that the woman should be invincible, which didn't make much sense, but we could talk more about that later. This video, I'm going to go through some articles real quick just to prove a point, and hopefully you will all understand where I'm coming from with this. First article by Keith Stewart here is Call of Duty Modern Warfare returns to tread a moral minefield, and he says that the Call of Duty franchise looks likely to spark some controversy because the game is too realistic, in his own words in the article. And all the article says is how awesome and how realistic the game actually is, except at the very bottom he makes some very bold statements saying that games like this will walk a dangerous line with politics and violence, and usually in the past they would opt out when the pressure was built up too much or by a big name persona. This could be a politician, this could be a journalist, this could be an entire news corporation, any of it. Then he talks about how Ubisoft was criticized for Far Cry 5 having alt-right survivalists in the game, and then claiming that it has no political message. But in all reality, if you've actually played the game, it's quite hilarious, if anything. And politics aside, I love the stereotypes because of it is so overdone that you can just tell that it's just pure comedy. Yet here's Keith hating on Far Cry 5 and Ubisoft. Then he makes a very interesting statement saying when politicians see a scene of civilian attired people being gunned down in a London house, they'll be asking a lot of questions. Now what he's referring to is a shooting that he wrote an article on 7 years ago. And this is when Keith Vaz, who is a member of parliament in the UK, if I am correct, I might be wrong on that, where 69 people were killed in Norway. And that the shooter said that he planned successfully by playing the first person shooter Call of Duty. And let's just be realistic for a second here. Call of Duty will not prepare you for a mass shooting. Having an evil mindset, a lot of money, and a really fucked up brain will prepare you for a shooting. Now moving on to another statement he said in the last article is where he says if the rules really have changed for Call of Duty, then presenting both sides of conflict and then claiming it's just a story won't wash. Now it's funny because he links this article right here, it's from The Verge, by Andrew Webster, who says in the first sentence of the third paragraph, one of the goals of the game and its dual perspective storyline in particular is to show various viewpoints of a conflict. Yet he's saying right here that they're only showing two sides and that it's not going to be enough. So apparently Keith over here, who wrote this article, did not read all of Andrews, or did not understand it at least. And Andrews is just talking about Call of Duty again, possibly being a little too realistic to the point where it's going to spark some more controversy. And then he brings up controversy like the no Russian terrorism scene in Modern Warfare 2. And let's be real here, guys. I keep saying let's be real here, but let's be real here, guys. No one has played that mission and was happy in doing so. The developers put that in there so your stomach would churn and you would really have to think about what you just did and or going to do. It's supposed to make your mind go racing. It's not supposed to provoke anything. It's a video game. It's not real. It's an alternate world, dimension. None of it is real whatsoever. And how people are supposed to see video games are exactly as their own little world. Not that it's real life, but its own little world where anything inside of it does not happen outside of it. Then he says that the single player campaigns started to suck after this, especially after Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and that's when developers for the Call of Duty series started to receive a lot of backlash from a lot of people about their campaigns being too harsh, realistic, and that the little snowflakes complaining were offended. Then he goes on in the article to present two scenes. The first scene that they were all presented at this interview presentation sort of thing, was a terrorist attack where soldiers tracked down and followed terrorists into a townhouse and started to kill everyone with a gun pointed at them. And it's supposed to strike fear into your head because you got a lot of background noise. The second scenario is a flashback in a small Middle Eastern village where a brother and sister have to work together and hide during a firefight. And he says that at one point the siblings work together to kill a soldier that is suspicious, and he describes it as a brutal experience, but I say it is simply just sibling bonding. He said that it was prolonged and exhausting, and he felt the tension as he wasn't even playing the game, and that's what they wanted to do. That's exactly what the developers at Infinity Ward wanted all of them there to feel. And that's exactly what the developers for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 wanted everyone to feel during the No Russian mission. Up next, we have a tweet from Dean Takahashi. I'm sure you've heard this before. This is one of his other tweets, but here it is, linking to one of his other articles. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is going to be frightening, bad, and not good for the public. And as you can tell from all the replies, it's pretty funny. So it's called Taking War in a Frightening Direction by Dean Takahashi. This was May 30th, 2019. He says that it was very disturbing. It brings up the No Russian controversy again, like I was talking about beforehand. It's a video game. Calm your shit. And he also describes how the safety of civilians comes into question during the campaign. And if you go back 2 videos ago where I explained how Call of Duty Modern Warfare was making COD great again, I explicitly say and quote from CallOfDuty.com why civilians' safety comes into question and how it is handled and how realistic it is with everyday life. I'll leave a card on screen if you want to check that out. It's actually worth watching if you're into that sort of thing. And then he says this gritty campaign is combined with multiplayer combat where killing is a sport. Multiplayer in Call of Duty games is not realistic whatsoever, and I'll tell you one thing, it's a video game. Calm down. Then he says, if you put these things together with extremely realistic human characters, it becomes even more disturbing. And what's more disturbing is how you can't wrap around your head that people want realistic looking features in a video game to make it seem as if it is real life, almost as if it is a simulation. This is so people don't have to do this stuff in real life and can just sit on their couch and play it in a video game. It's almost like a movie, but you are in control of things. And then he talks about shooting unarmed women or terrorists during a bunch of scenes here, how people could walk by the TV and someone was playing it, they could think it's a real documentary in war in Syria. And let me tell you, if a human being walks by a TV and sees this and thinks it's a war in Syria, I'll tell you one thing. They have never heard of a video game in their life, let alone Call of Duty, and you call yourself a Call of Duty fan since the beginning, and a writer for video games for over 30 years, but you dare to make a comment like that? That's pretty sad, Dean. And then he keeps emphasizing how a woman gets shot because she's holding a gun pointed at someone. And then this statement right here where it says, and in the final room you confront an unarmed woman. She moves despite your warnings to stop. She then grabs a bomb detonator. You have to shoot her. Oh geez, it's almost like we shouldn't have to shoot the person that's gonna blow up the entire building. Oh no, Dean, what if you were in that building? And he finds it profoundly disturbing and unjustifiable. So I guess we shouldn't shoot people that are trying to shoot us and that are known terrorists and that have just committed a terrorist act. That sucks. Then he talks about how the game should be censored and why we're even making a game like this in the first place. And I'll tell you one thing, we're making it in the first place just to piss you off, Dean. Next article. This is from Dexerto.com. And this is where Modern Warfare director responds to claims about censoring the campaign. And this is where Taylor Kurosaki dismissed the question altogether by quoting, "We never would censor the game. Those are rumors and they are not true." And he's responding to a tweet. And he's also saying that they will make changes to the game, but not to change any of the scenes or dialogue. And then something I saw while scrolling through Dean Takahashi's page a tweet he retweeted from Katie McCarthy. She was saying how unsettling one of the demos were and how it rubbed her the wrong way. And just from her profile picture, I could tell you one thing: how she looks is even worse.
No, 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 no.
So the second she sits down and they turn on the big TV, she says that something bad is afoot. She says the team moves through the house, murdering everyone inside with no questioning of orders. If we go back to any of the other articles, everyone actually explains what's going on except for Katie here, who's a little snowflake. And she's saying how Call of Duty feels like the polar opposite of last year's Black Ops 4 from Treyarch, and that's because this is a realistic first-person shooter, and it is not futuristic, and it's supposed to set place in modern day. Maybe that's why, Katie. And the rest of the article is all BS, and it's just talking about the same scenes and how they're bad and how it's going to spark a lot of controversy and all this stuff, and how she was offended by it. And then this next article from Vice.com saying Call of Duty Modern Warfare can't decide whether war is bad or badass. And I'll tell you one thing, Mr. Austin Walker, it is both. And he says gun fetishization might get into the way of the emotional storytelling of the game. And to provide more emphasis on that, it's right here in this entire paragraph is what that one statement in the subtitle of the article really means. So he said that he was painstakingly for 10 minutes told to listen and to watch. That is it. He was told how the tech made the layered fabric of the ghillie suits really pop, how burnout car doors look more real. He talks about how ray tracing technology is okay, and how listening to bullet shells being flung from the submachine gun's chamber bouncing off the side of a bus, feeling a concussive blast of an explosion as a grenade goes off in front of you, and to look at the guns floating in the air, details on display, looking at the guns sway with your body. Look at these guns as you reload them, even when aiming down sights. Look at these guns. Man, Austin Walker, he is definitely flamboyant. We could definitely just tell that from his writing. If he hasn't come out already, we know the truth, Austin. But let's be real here. All those things is what everyone has been wanting. Everyone in the COD community wanted to go back to the good old time. Boots on the ground, action-packed, so everyone is able to play and still enjoy it, but more realistic and better than ever before. And that is exactly what Infinity Ward is giving to us. Yet we got people like this just hating on it. Why? I do not know. But some people just can't help to express their emotions because they are very insecure about themselves. On to the next article. It's not about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's actually about Cyberpunk, which I think is going to be an amazing game. But then we have a decent amount of controversy about an advertisement in game called Mix It Up, featuring a transgender male to female promoting a drink. That is literally it. And it's being criticized as being transphobic for some reason, even though it's an advertisement for that sort of thing. And there's tweets by Anna Valens on Twitter, who is like pissed off at them, saying that, oh, this is bad against the transgender community. How could you do this? Let's promote a drink that says Mix It Up because of their transgender. And the artist is actually pretty pissed off at this girl. Isn't really showing it though, but we can tell because she spent a lot of time putting old advertisements throughout the game and creating them herself. And you can see those tweets right here by Anna Valens if we go to the original page. I just had some stuff highlighted for you guys to see. But Anna Valens is just being a piece of shit, and that is that. So what do we learn from this, guys? Well, the gaming community is definitely being pressured by society, whether it is by politicians, journalists, news corporations, different media sources, and just people in general, including other communities like the transgender community, LGBTQXY, LMNOP community, stuff like that. Because it's not diverse enough. There's not enough black people in it. Because there's all this BS going around, and it's always been like this for such a long time. And I just had to make a video about it because it's been bothering me, and it's been bothering a lot of people because they just want to play a game that is accurate to the time period, realistic, and has a few things that will offend some people, but the developers shouldn't care. Just like Infinity Ward doesn't care that a bunch of people are going to be offended by this game because of it's too realistic, according to every single one of those articles. Or a transgender advertisement in a video game that doesn't even take place during this time, that's promoting the transgender community, is transphobic. I don't really have much more to say other than most of these articles here were pure stupidity, except for the parts where they defined how realistic and how awesome and badass Call of Duty Modern Warfare is going to be and is. So if you enjoyed the video, drop a like along with a comment down below on your thoughts on this topic. I know it's very controversial, as every single article has stated it is. So keep it PG, but if not, I understand down in the comments. But of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon and receive all notifications from awesome videos just like this, because I've been Sync Gamer. I'll see you all next time. Peace.